Well, hello, folks. This is Idiots versus Idiots. My name is Danny. I'm joined always by my cowboy-hatted associate, the Big Man.
I am the big man.
As if he is the only large man in Texas. As if there isn't the entire city of Beaumont, Texas, that makes him look like Paris Hilton.
Well, I actually was on a call this week where, other people introduce me as the big man all the time. It's my brand,
Right.
yada, yada. Anyway, I was on this call, and this guy was trying to be, how people, when they're trying to sell you something, they're trying to get you to sign up for something, they're very proper. And he's like, Mr. the Big Man. He kept calling me Mr. the Big Man. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Just stop it. I appreciate it, but no.
I jokingly refer to your wife as Mrs. the Big Man.
Yes.
And that's only because I have transference fear, meaning you're afraid, so I'm afraid of you. I haven't even met the lady, and she's probably delightful.
Hey, there's only two things on this planet that I was ever afraid of, and one of them, he died years ago, and my wife. Anyway, what are we talking about today, Danny?
Well, of course, we have to start off with, as many of you may or may not know, I'm a huge T-Mobile fan. It's a really weird thing to be a fan of a cellular service company.
It's an awful thing is what it is, but go ahead.
It's weird. I'm mostly a fan of their former CEO, John Ledger. He's a turnaround mastermind. And he's the one who executed the merger of T-Mobile and Sprint. And here's something interesting is I have this weird plan with T-Mobile. I can get a new phone whenever I want. Every month I can get a new phone. Just walk into a store, hand them my old one, get a new one, pay a monthly fee. This last few months, I've gone through a few phones, didn't like anything I purchased. They were pushing me really hard to get this service called TVision, which was their approach or their type of like Hulu Live, YouTube TV, Philo, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever.
All of these cable box replacement services.
And by the way, TVision is the worst name for a cut your cord, right? Cable application. Cord cutting streaming. TVision is absolute worst.
And this is a rare time where Mr. the Big Man and I agree on something. Because usually anything he believes regarding branding or marketing is always stupid. So
one of us is called the Big Man. The other one goes by Danny.
That's correct.
Go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but here's what I find fascinating about it. They started the service last year. And
which sounds like a very long time ago, but it's only been from conception to now 5 months. 5 months, and it's done.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is T-Mobile is this huge company. They are in an antique or vintage. They're in an old industry. Telecom in this country is old now. It is not a forward-thinking, innovation-driven industry like tech might be. Sure, there's tech there, but it's not a tech business. It's, at the end of the day, one of the oldest service industries in the country.
Absolutely.
They did something that surprised me. After 5 months, just 5 months of the TVision service, they're canceling it. They're cratering the whole business.
It's not surprising to me. I have no doubt how this went down is somebody went to T-Mobile, which is, a big company, and they convinced them that this would be the step in the direction of getting into people's households from a data standpoint, right? Let's get them signed up for TVision, and then we'll offer them a product for, running all the data in their home and yada yada.
And that is what they were aiming at, I believe, is they wanted to set up 5G.
Absolutely. Replace cable entirely, right? With T-Mobile's 5G service, yada, yada. And this is a step in. The problem is this whole app development of television is not a new thing. I guarantee you somebody convinced T-Mobile that this was new. It's going to be simple. Everybody's going to get on it because it's the big thing. No, it was a big thing 3 years ago, right? And then they got into it and figured out these shows are expensive.
Yeah.
They're expensive. To the rights to these aren't cheap like it was when Netflix started. Aren't
Right.
cheap when a lot of these things started. And it's really not only expensive, but developing shows and stuff like that is difficult. And I don't think they understood
Well,
what they were getting into.
and so I also think that there's, when it comes to streaming, there's two, the two roads that diverge in this wood here. And there is the streaming platform, which is like your Netflix and so forth. And then there's your cord cutter replacement, which is, hey, all the same channels you get with cable, you're going to get
Exactly.
over here, but we're going to deliver over the internet versus a cable wire going through your house. And that's what, in T-Mobile's TVision was the latter. And what's interesting is I said, okay, do you guys have a Roku app? Because if I buy this service, I know my parents use this, whatever service I buy is what they end up using.
Right.
I share. So right now we have YouTube TV. I get an account. I think I get 6 accounts with it or something. And what's interesting is not only do they not have a Roku app, they said you have to buy our proprietary streaming dongle. Dongle
Again,
is my favorite word in all of tech.
It is. It really is. But who convinced them of that? Again, multi-billion-dollar company that gets sold, and we talked about this by lots of companies here recently, get sold on this idea that's just wrong. Who in their right mind in today's world convinces a company that it's going to be successful to not only... Okay, I'm not going to put it on Roku. I'm not going to put it on Apple TV. I'm not going to put it on Amazon's Fire Stick.
Right.
I'm going to charge you for an individual dongle. And then on top of that, you're going to pay me $40 a month, right? To cut the cord, which is costing you probably not much more than $40 a month. You know what I mean?
Well, I think for a lot of people, it's probably more than 40. I know that. But here's why I thought the story was interesting to me, was that here's something that historically old, incumbent industry is not good at, which is
right.
cutting off dead weight. Google does a great
Absolutely.
job of like, hey, we have to rebrand from G Suite to Workspace, and we have to, like, they went from being Google Apps to Google whatever to G something to G Suite to becoming Workspace by Google, and they just chopped off those dead limbs of their tree. Just no problem, cut it. We're out. Right?
And you should. You should. Every business should be nimble, right? Like,
and that's the only way to survive in this, in not just these times, but the before times, right?
All times in business.
At all times, you have to be aggressive about innovating and then shaving off the innovation that does not work. And I just commend T-Mobile, because this is like for having, first of all, the Texas-sized cojones to enter into a space and realize we don't belong here. T-Mobile, by the way, is a company they have a banking app, right? They have a pseudo bank, like a prepaid debit card that you can get.
Right.
So they're not a stranger to, and this is something the big man hammers home on every episode. And when I just hear the beginning of the word, not only do I start to tune out, my heart stops beating just a little bit, saying maybe it's time to die.
All I'm saying
they
is
built
that
an audience, tell you what.
You know that it's true, which is your problem. Okay? That's all. You don't have anything better to say except for what my knowledge and experience brings. It's all right, Danny. Everybody already sees it. It's just time for you to buy in.
Okay.
I agree with you. Being nimble is the point. It's actually my biggest issue with especially the last couple of years of the hustle comments that have come out of entrepreneurship. Well, the hustle. Well, the problem is people apply that word hustle to beat my head against a wall for 18 hours a day over and over, doing the same thing, buying into somebody's hustle plan and bullshit that people peddle. And here's the reality is you need to be nimble. I get the hustle, you working is you should be. You can't do anything sitting on your couch, right? Unless it's a podcast, which is why we have this. But
Right.
the point is it still requires you to do something, but you've got to be nimble. Too much of the hustle mentality that's out there in 2021 and it was out there in 2020 was doing these same few steps over and over. And if they're not working for you, if they're not working for your business, change it up. Now, T-Mobile has done this, and here, let me tell you something where I'm not a big fan of T-Mobile. I think
Why?
they're not a great company. They don't provide a great service.
They provide fantastic service.
In comparison to anything else, no, they don't. They are third tier at best. Now, they've made some good decisions, and I agree with you that he turned around T-Mobile, right, by the acquisition of Sprint. As a company, it is still third tier in what it does best at.
Pardon. Let me correct you there. Before John Ledger acquired Sprint for T-Mobile, before that happened, they had in the country, they were number 2 for root metrics goes around, and they measure speed
what root metrics is. It's
the audience might not, right?
They are a third-tier company in customer service. They're a third-tier company.
I get the best customer service from them.
No, you do. It's the difference between talking about, I can find an individual that loves their Spectrum cable service or their Comcast service.
Well,
but the fact is, Comcast is awful.
There is no such human being. There is no such human being, I guarantee
you're using your personal experience versus business data. Here, again, look, ultimately, I'm going to agree with you here if you'll let me come around. The fact is by starting this, trying to do it, right, and then now partnering with YouTube TV, right, and Philo, however you pronounce it, they're going to make money where a year ago they weren't making money. Does that, you see what I'm saying?
Totally.
So I have no problem with that. That is a good decision. They cut off the limb that wasn't growing, but they're going to create some revenue from it anyway, right? They're splitting up what they have created between YouTube TV and Philo TV with partnerships, right? I'm sure everybody's giving them a cut for that. That's all good stuff.
And here's what I'm saying. I'm already a customer of YouTube TV. I'm already a loyal customer of T-Mobile. And I've had all the major carriers in the United States. I've had Verizon, I've had AT&T, and I've had Sprint. And I left Sprint to go to T-Mobile, and I've never been happier with my service anywhere. But
good for you,
right? And maybe
not
I'm
my experience, and a lot of people out there.
Yeah, okay, but you're old, so
and a hardcore fighter for what is good service and good things. Yes, that makes me old. Okay. And the fact that I'm willing to pay a premium to get those things, you are correct. If that makes me old, I am old. But look, for people like Danny,
listen, Richie Rich, all of us aren't going to go buy Verizon and pay $190 a month.
I pay for the service that I get, brother. That's all I'm saying. And I've been all over the country, and I get the same one. Here's the deal, though. If you are, like Danny, a loyal T-Mobile, and you did have TVision, and you enjoyed it, and you want to now switch over to YouTube, T-Mobile's got you covered because they are canceling this. They're giving you $10 off the monthly rate for YouTube TV. They've got a couple of different coupons and stuff like that you can get. So if you are a TVision Live or any of that stuff, like Danny was, or not was, you said it was offered to you. You didn't subscribe.
I never took it because I was just like, I'll wait till you have a Samsung TV app and a Roku app, because I buy the service and my family uses it, and I'm like, if I have to explain to my old man, and my old man's not a complete Luddite, he gets tech.
Sure.
But, if I got to explain to him that now there's another dongle.
Oh, yeah. No, that all in itself.
Forget it. It's over.
If you suggested that to me when this was suggested in T-Mobile, that all by itself, I would have put money on the fact that it was going to die. Like it.
And the fact that they couldn't get on Roku, Apple TV, and Samsung, which are the biggest 3 smart TV app stores or whatever. If you're not in either, if you're in one of them, if you're just in Roku
or or Amazon's Fire Stick.
If they were in either one, it would have been done.
That's it.
But they had their own proprietary box. But this is a lesson now for if you like these services that are like Philo TV and some of these other ones, they simply do not have the app support. And if you are not on Roku, at least on Roku, you have to at least, this is my rule, Danny's rule. I'm a tech genius. I'm a business wizard. I'm a brilliant guy. Take my advice for free.
I'm
You
so
are
glad
not,
it's 2021 and you can identify as whatever you want. But go ahead. Nobody check Danny's credentials is all I'm saying. Go
it's
ahead.
2021, and if a brown guy wants to call himself a wizard, he can.
Go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I'm just saying that you have to at least be on Roku, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think Roku is by far, and I'm a big Roku fan.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I also have the Amazon product as well, but
Fire
I
stick.
find the Roku devices, and all the way back to Roku's original devices actually don't even work because they don't have the processing power. They had to give up last year. I think last year before last. But so I've been a big fan of Roku since the beginning. And you're right. I think it actually is the most widely used worldwide is the Roku versus the Amazon product.
I have the Roku. I forget which one it is, but it was like $70. And I bought the fanciest one for my dad, and I said it was a Father's Day gift, but it was basically so I could watch TV at their house.
Well, and look, here's one thing I found as part of this article that when I read it, I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense, and that could kill your business when you're trying to start up. It said their TV software provider, so whoever they were using to create the programming of this, encountered financial challenges along the way. So if you're trying to create a new product and the company you've partnered with all of a sudden starts having financial problems and the product you paid them for starts falling off of a cliff because of lack of support or whatever it may be, that in itself could have been enough for a big company to go, yep, I'm out.
Right. And we might as well go to these established, I don't know about Philo TV or who backs it or what kind of their financial operations, but YouTube TV is obviously humongous. They're massive. And, I've been in between, like, switching from them to, like, Hulu Live. But now that I get a 10% or $10 a month discount, I'm happy to stick with them,
Well, and who wouldn't partner with Google? Like, I mean, seriously. I mean, if you
Exactly.
have an opportunity to part with Google and that's your, step in the door, and maybe this leads to a long-term, bigger deal between Google and T-Mobile, that could be a good thing for people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame them. I appreciate them for being nimble and that kind of stuff. And you're right, that's what we should take out of it. And creating a new revenue stream for themselves. Because like I said, they didn't give this up for free. Right? Partnering with YouTube TV and Philo is going to give them some slice of the pie.
They're going to get something. They're not doing it for nothing. And as just to sum up here, they were nimble, they were innovative. The first
Absolutely.
thing is they were innovative. They said, how do we go to our existing subscribers, our existing customer base, and how do we extract more of their money? Right?
I love that. Extract more of their money.
Listen, it sounds like this awful, pernicious behavior, but these subscribers are paying for their TV somewhere. Might as well be at T-Mobile.
That we are in a commercial-driven society, and that's the way it is. There are only a finite number of people that use a finite number of dollars in any given day. And every business, you're either growing or you're dying. There is no third direction. So you have to find a way, and I think that's the hardest part for places like Verizon, T-Mobile, and stuff like this. I don't know. I'm not a big promoter, and I know we talked a lot of stocks and investing and stuff like that. And again, I'm not here to give anybody advice, but I find it difficult to invest in those companies over the next decade because I don't know where they find their answer to this is 5G, right?
Right. And listen, I think that, so I was trying to, in summation, they were innovative. They were thinking about how to extract another dollar from their existing customer because they were where they innovated first, where John Ledger innovated first with T-Mobile was pricing transparency, right? Straightforward pricing. He eliminated a lot of plans. Basically got people onto there's just one plan.
Right.
T-Mobile, one plan. That's it. Right?
Unlimited data, unlimited. Yeah.
So they were innovative. They were nimble. And they canned it when it was a bad idea. When something wasn't working, they gave it, Noah Kagan he's an Austin guy. He's an innovator, entrepreneur rather. He has AppSumo. He's like, you got to give something 100 efforts, 100 tries. So, for instance, if we're going to start a podcast, we're going to give it 100 episodes before we decide, is this worth it? Is this a failure? Whatever. And I think that you should have those inflection points in your business journey, in your entrepreneurial journey. While you're building a business, you need to stop and go, somewhere throughout this process, are we going to stop and look at, is this working or not?
Absolutely.
We need to pivot. We need to quit. And if you don't have those, if you're not asking yourselves those questions, even as you're growing.
Is quitting this podcast an option? You just said, are we?
Yeah.
Ugh. You will get an email from Daniel. Danny likes to say my lawyers later today resigning from, you know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Nice. Don't let the door hit your backside on the way out, brother. I don't care.
He says that now, folks, but he'll call me later and beg me to stay.
No, do you not? Someone clearly has not read their terms of service. The terms of this agreement say if you willfully part, I leave with all the assets. You have a 1 year carryover of alimony to the corporation. So bye.
Danny's like a fungus. You ain't getting rid of him.
That's right.
All I'm saying.
I'm like foot fungus, baby. I just keep coming back. Woo. All right, we got to let you know about one thing here. Over at Idiots versus Idiots, I'm sure that you did not know this, but you should have by now. We are death peddlers. That is right. We peddle the death of plastic pollution. Not only does Liquid Death murder your thirst, 10% of every can sold goes to end plastic pollution. And frankly, my friends, I have to tell you, it is a superior water delivery system. I just realized at the start of today's show that I'm out.
Well, yeah, right? I was fixing to say, you usually have like 15 empty cans on your desk in front of you. Okay, right. I don't know how Liquid Death could sponsor us any more than it does on your desk.
That's
usually.
Right.
So, you know.
Unfortunately, I feel like I'm kind of a junkie because I realized I was out. I was like, oh, man, what am I going to do, man? Am I going to just drink regular water out of a bottle?
We can't have that. We can't have
right.
that.
If you use code IDIOTS10 on liquiddeath.com, you will get 2 free koozies with your order. Are you ready for the next story, sir?